We don't talk about that in college. We learn how to memorize glycolysis, which is why I want to introduce my Road to series. Hi everyone, my name is Ashley. I'm a senior biochemistry student and I'm now preparing for my MCAT. If you're watching this video, you know that the MCAT is the medical school entrance exam and it's one of the major components to our application. Specifically, the CARS section, also known as the Critical Analysis and Reasoning Skills, is one of the most difficult sections for a lot of students, including myself, because it focuses on something that we don't practice enough in undergrad: application over memorization, reading long passages for an extended period of time, understanding authors' tones, and making inferences based only on the information given and not on our own perceptions. We don't talk about that in college. We learn how to memorize glycolysis, which is why I want to introduce my Road to series. I'm going to give you the nitty-gritty on how I'm preparing for my MCAT exam, including all the tools and things that I'm using to study. Today's video specifically is my roadmap to 132 and how I'm training for the MCAT CARS section. For today, I'll be showing you a 30-day experiment that I conducted to see how well I can improve my CARS score using only one resource. Let's go. Before we get into the actual experiment, I first want to introduce my baseline scores. I took a practice exam to see what I would get before I did the 30-day experiment, because of course, baseline scores are important. So let's give it to past Ashley.
What's also important to note, this is actually my first full-length CARS practice, and I'm actually really nervous, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. If I get like a 40, and I know it's like at a 132, we're not going to judge, and we're just going to see, we're just setting baseline, okay? All right, everyone, the scores are in. My first diagnostic CARS exam, I got an estimated score of a 121. So that's about 50% of the questions correct. And I mostly struggled with reasoning beyond the text. So inferring what the author would think about something with their current line of thought. Okay,
So now I'd like to introduce, drumroll please, today's sponsor. This video is actually sponsored by CARSBooster. CARSBooster is an MCAT CARS preparation tool that uses specialized skilled games to help students improve in their core reasoning skills. And wait, before you click off, I want to be clear on one thing. I will be giving my honest feedback on how I like this tool for MCAT preparation. Specifically, to establish trust, I'll be showing you my baseline scores, which I did already, and my post scores after the fact, after this experiment. And you know what doesn't lie? Results. So let's go. So I conducted a 30-day experiment of using CARSBooster to prepare for the CARS section, and only using CARSBooster. No AAMC, no UWorld, nothing. I only use CARSBooster for 30 days. CARSBooster has 4 games. Specifically, we have a speed reader, vocabulary identifier, main idea, and mini passages. I'll be dedicating 15 to 60 minutes a day to rotate between each of the games. So how this would work is one day I'll do speed reader, the next day I'll do vocabulary identifier, following day I'll do main idea, and then I'll do mini passages, and so on and so forth until the 30 days has been complete. So speed reader is exactly how it sounds. Speed reader focuses on learning how to read passages quickly while still comprehending the information, because there's 9 passages in the CARS section and you have 90 minutes. So that's approximately 10 minutes per passage, depending on how many questions are in each section. Then you have vocabulary identifier, being able to find synonyms for words that are being used in the passage. So you'll read a passage and then it'll pick a word in the passage and you have to find a synonym that closely matches how the author intended to use the current word. So that's important because you have questions like that within the CARS section. One of the biggest points in CARS is main idea. So main idea focuses on reading passages and establishing the main idea or central thesis of that section. Lastly, mini passages kind of puts it all together in my opinion, because it uses both speed reading, vocabulary identifier, main idea, and other key questions to determine, to see how well you're able to conduct reasoning beyond the text or make inferences based on the author's current stances. It has officially been 30 days since I've completed my CARSBooster experiment, and proof of course. I have 4 missed days, but 2 of those were my daily goal set for 20 minutes and I only did it for about 15 minutes that day because I didn't have that much time. And then another one I had to go back home. So I technically, realistically did it for 28 days, but my 30-day experiment. Let's cue the montage on some of the days that I did and how I used CARSBooster for 30 days. Now it's the moment we've been waiting for. I have to take a post-experiment assessment. Okay, it is now time to take my post-exam following 30 days of CARSBooster, and my goal is to at least get a 124, considering in my baseline exam I got a 121. So let's go. So you guys remember how I said I wanted to at least get 124? Dun 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 dun. I got 124, which is a 3-point increase from my baseline score. So one thing I can say about my timing and my pacing compared to my baseline is I actually used a lot more time. Compared to the first time I took my baseline exam, I kind of was rushing. I was sort of rushing through the questions because I'm a fast reader, but then I was missing key components of the question. This time I was so in depth that I had maybe 25 minutes left and I was still on passage 6. So I definitely slowed down a lot, which could have negatively impacted me in those later passages. In terms of confidence, I didn't feel necessarily more or less confident than the first time I took it. However, I was utilizing things I learned in the games to make more informed decisions. So sticking to explicitly what the author is saying, as well as trying to use context clues plus other claims to build a central main idea. In terms of mental endurance, compared to the first time I took this section, I was able to sustain myself in the 90 minutes, whereas last time I was getting like reading fatigue because I was just so overwhelmed with information. But this time I was able to compartmentalize information a lot better, in my opinion. So the importance of this section is not necessarily for me to get a 132 in my first time practicing, but just to improve on these skills. A 121 to a 124 jump is still pretty good in my opinion, although it's not ideal for what I want to score on the MCAT. I do think that CARSBooster made me a lot more confident on learning new vocabulary and being able to wean out the most correct answer in a haystack of all their correct answers. That's it. So finally, I just want to give my honest review of CARSBooster and how it's helped me in training for my MCAT. So one thing I really loved about CARSBooster before I even started my experiment, it's its accessibility across mobile devices. I was literally doing CARSBooster on my phone, my iPad, my computer, like whatever device I had on me at the time. That's what I was using, and it worked wonderfully. I had no problems at all. And additionally, I liked the separation between the 4 different games because it gave targeted skill building in those areas compared to trying to throw everything all at you at once. I think CARSBooster would be helpful if you're somebody like me who, when you're practicing reading long passages, it wasn't helpful for me to just continue doing CARS passages over and over and over again. It was breaking down the skills that I needed to know. So being able to identify vocabulary, being able to understand, okay, actually put the main idea in your own words, as well as you need to learn how to read faster. Now, of course, this wouldn't be an honest review without some of my dislikes. I would say that the game that I liked the least was Speed Reader. As somebody who's already a quick reader, the fact that the words were disappearing was really distracting to me, and I would actually forget like everything I was reading because I was so focused on the words moving. So once I got to level 11, which is the highest level you can get, towards the end of my experiment, I didn't reset to back to a lower level because I felt like I learned everything that I needed to learn from Speed Reader, and I was getting all the questions correct. So reading quickly was already one of my strong suits. I'm suggesting, if you're going to use this as a tool, is 15 to 60 minutes through to 60 minutes might not be enough when considering how intricate the car section is. If you're studying for cars, I would suggest 60 minutes is the least you should do. Doing this experiment while balancing I was still in school full-time. I am still in school full-time, and I still work a full-time job. So I noticed that like I was also studying when I was really fatigued. So I would recommend, if you're studying for cars, do it when you have the most energy and you have a lot more time to give compared to the last 15-20 minutes of your day, which I was finding myself doing some days in my experiment. Now that I'm done with my experiment, I would say that I would use CARSBooster again. I even just purchased my own subscription for MCAT prep, but I'll be using it in conjunction with other materials such as my AMC materials and my UWorld materials. I think they have to go hand in hand. CARSBooster is more for learning the skills, and those passages are for application, and I think you need both of them to be able to successfully ace the CARS section. I have a 124 now, and my ultimate goal is to at least get a 128, if not a 130 in the CARS section. So that's still a lot of wiggle room in terms of what I need to work on. But I had a lot of fun doing this experiment, and I did learn a lot of cool things. So I was very happy about that. All in all, this experiment wasn't to get a 132 in 30 days. It was to learn its key lessons was to learn where I struggle in the CARS section, so that I can have a more targeted approach to my passages, because when I found where I struggled, it made doing passages a lot easier. Now, CARS is one of those sections is you can't really study for CARS how you traditionally study for other sections of the MCAT, and it requires strategy and consistency. So I do intend to keep this in the rotation of how I study for CARS and even show you guys how my CARS score is improving. I'm currently 30 days out from my MCAT, and I know that sounds like a short period of time, but I will be going into a full study session. I'm not going to be working, I'm not going to be in school, just basically throwing myself into studying for 30 days. So I think I will see a bit more drastic of a change because I'm going to be focusing on MCAT and MCAT only. I appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys follow me on the rest of my Road to series, where I show you the different ways that I'm studying, different vlogs, and my kind of study techniques to prepare myself for the MCAT, and even a vlog for my actual MCAT day, as well as maybe if I get a good score, I'll tell you guys what I got on the MCAT. I'm just kidding, I will tell you what I got on the MCAT. But that was today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.